Hello. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Yup Live.
Hey.
Where the money reside. I guess we're not doing that no more.
Are we? We just switched over themes. It's a new month.
We have to go where it's most relevant, and we got some hot topics today. Okay.
Where ladies reside. That's what this show is about, huh, Christian?
Always.
Yes, it is March. It is Women's History Month. We just celebrated Women's History Day or International Women's Day. Was it yesterday or a couple days ago? Monday, maybe?
Monday.
I never know what the day is. I always know the month is March, but I never know what the exact day is.
It was Monday, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And with the pandemic, everything just feels like it is blurring together.
Absolutely. But yeah, I'm excited. We are in March already. I feel like this whole quarter is gone. But we just going to get into some hot topics, and then we're going to talk to our guests because it is Women's History Month. So I'm going to throw it to you, Ms. Gigi, for our first topic of the day.
Okay, so you guys know I'm from Texas. It has a very special place in my heart. So as you may or may not have heard, starting today, March 10th, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, actually said there is no mask mandate and businesses will be open up to 100%. His exact words were, too many Texans have sidelined from employment opportunities. Too many small business owners have struggled to pay their bills. This must end. It is now time to open Texas 100%, he said. Now, Texas is less than 9% vaccinated. So, of course, he is getting a lot of backlash. And one thing about the state of Texas is that the cities are able to make their own rules depending on their officials. So, for an example, Dallas mayor may say, hey, guys, you have to wear your mask. But in Fort Worth, they might say, hey, it's a free-for-all. If you want to wear your mask, you can. If you don't want to wear your mask, you don't have to. Now, that puts business owners in a very, very, very tough situation because let's say you just travel from Dallas to Fort Worth or Fort Worth to Dallas, it's then up to the actual business to decide if they want to make the mask mandate or enforce it. So prime example, there's a Mexican restaurant actually called Pico's or something like that. And basically people are calling ICE on the employees merely because they are still enforcing the mask mandate. Customers are coming in there and saying, we shouldn't have to wear the mask. So they're calling literally ICE on the employees. So there's an all-out war going on. Also, a lot of people were saying, okay, we'll go after TEA, which is like the Texas Educational Association. So TEA is basically saying, no, we're not taking any responsibility. It's going to be up to the city. So that means whether or not masks will be mandated in schools is really going to depend on the city. So again, Dallas and Fort Worth is like 35 to 40 minutes away. Right, as of it's stand right now, Dallas, there is a mask mandate, but in other surrounding counties, there is not. So that means that I could, if I had a child, they could have mask mandates at their school, but my cousins, they could be in a completely different school district and masks are not required there. Now, major companies such as like Target and different pharmacies are still requiring the mask mandate, but this is something that is huge. People are definitely going back and forth about this. I have seen disagreements in the store regarding people coming up and saying, hey, I don't have to wear my mask due to the governor, and the store owners are like, okay, well, I want to keep my customers safe and you do have to wear the mask. Some people are calling the police on store owners. So it's getting really interesting. It's getting really messy. So I don't know. One thing I love about my state is they definitely give you options. And they definitely give you free will. And it's up to you to decide what you want to do after you get that freedom. But what are you guys' thoughts on that?
That made my head hurt, to be completely.
I didn't know Texas was closed, so I thought y'all were already open.
Right.
You said what?
Never closed down.
We weren't 100%. We weren't 100%. Yeah.
Quickly, I think I'm a small business owner, so I definitely support small business owners and think that they should have the means to open and make their money. However, I think that if we learned anything this year, I think public safety should be a priority. I think I've seen in the news, I've seen articles where we are prioritizing our individual lives and our individual needs, but we're a collective, and we've seen how New Zealand, we've seen how Italy, we've seen how other countries that are more nationalist, if you will, have come together and fought this pandemic, where America is individualist, and it's a year in and we still are having problems. So I don't see it being a solution because we are 50 individual states doing our own things. It's controversial and it's upsetting to have the federal government all in our business as individual states and individual counties and individual people. So I think we just gonna go with the flow. It's almost over, hopefully. I encourage people to get their vaccines if they are healthy enough and willing to do so.
Well, I'm gonna jump in because I think I have to disagree in terms of the federal government versus the state. I think that's what's causing a lot of the confusion. And I know Texas gets a lot of people coming from all over, to visit. I'm going there next month. But I will have my mask on. I'm not going to play no games. Yeah. So, I just feel like it causes confusion. I feel like we're the United States. I get that we have differences and people move to different states for different reasons because of different laws and regulations, so on and so forth. And we've seen that exponentially with the advancement of the marijuana industry. People are relocating to get on that. So, and people are relocating now. They're going to Florida. People are leaving to go to Texas. And, the All-Star Weekend was just in Atlanta. Child, I'm nervous. I'm nervous about that. So I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't be bothered if the federal government said, all y'all need to chill out.
Agreed. Well, Texas is the lone state.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can appreciate it because I don't know. I'm really passionate about it. You know what I mean? So I like that we have flexibility. We're not all meant to think the same. No one's telling you not to wear your mask, but you have the option. And it's kind of the same with the vaccination, right? If that's the case, then they can mandate the vaccinations for everyone. So it's just like you have to give or take. When you're talking about them making something across the board, all of those things go into it. So we just have to be careful what we ask for. We definitely have to be careful what we ask for. And another thing I was just going to say is that in Atlanta, I don't know if they got herd immunity or what, but Atlanta has been open. They are still open. I'm not going to say no names that was at All-Star. Hey, listen. But I wasn't there.
It's so funny. It's so funny because
I was not there, but when I tell you they are living their life, I have a friend out there, a very close friend that's a promoter. He be at every party, every event, every hookah. And I'm talking about this man. I ain't never seen him go down. So I don't know.
Yeah. And
I don't know.
To piggyback off of that, I have a friend who's a doctor. So he's at the hospital constantly, like 7 days a week. And he is so adamant to say that COVID is not real. He's in Atlanta. He's so adamant saying that COVID is not real. I'm not debating with him because I don't have the time or energy, but just throwing it out there.
Christian, what do you think? I want to hear. I've been reading your facial expressions over there.
I was just thinking of there's a couple of ways we can look at it. I think, like you're saying, we are living in an individualistic society, but I also think that I have cousins, I have family that believe that also that this is a conspiracy, that this is not a real thing. However, science and actually knowing people that have died from this, it is a real thing. And so for me, it's like, just go on and make an executive order and just give us all mandated masks all out there, because we have to get back to normal one way or another. And so we have to think of different ways and strategies of how do we make people feel safe. There's a public safety issue here, kind of like what Jasmine was saying. Like, people want to go back out and go. I can't even go into the restaurant. Now, there are different parts of California where you can go in and eat, but it just depends on where and when. And like you're saying, like when I went to Houston, it was you can go into places, you can go wherever. However, California, you can't really do nothing, and so. And people are mad at the governor. They're like super mad at Governor Newsom for trying to be safe and trying to be conservative and really think about people's lives. And I think that we just need to wear our masks. You know, if you want to get vaccines, by all means, you can do that. And
Give it a mask, yeah.
you know, yeah, that's my.
Yeah, definitely. But we're gonna go from Texas to Kentucky. Speaking of some things going down and some changes happening, but Christian, I'm gonna throw it to you so you can tell the people what's going on in Kentucky.
Definitely. Thank you. So in Kentucky, I want you all to listen up. Those that are chiming in. This is really interesting. So in Kentucky, it is a proposed Kentucky bill that would make it a crime to insult or taunt a police officer. I want you guys to comment in the thread if you want to. But it's like Kentucky state lawmakers have advanced a bill that would make it a crime to insult or taunt a law enforcement officer in a way that could provoke a violent response. Under this bill, a person who accosts, insults, taunts, or challenges a law enforcement officer with offensive or derisive words, or by gestures, or by physical contact, that would have a public tendency to provoke a violent response in a public place would be guilty of disorderly conduct in the second degree. When I about this and I read this, I'm like, what in the world is going on? Now you're trying to, take away people protesting power. They're mad because people protest. I mean, look at Christopher hit it. So, you have this real problem of, and when I read this, I'm thinking, okay, they want protection of themselves, protection of cops, because, Black people and when people of color, as the new term, BIPOC people, we have a way of, that's a whole nother conversation. So, and we get a little enraged, we get a little angry or frustrated, and some people like to use their extra vernacular tones, their urban language and their cursive words. So you think that we're supposed to come to this protest, kumbaya, praise the Lord, we want our rights, we want our freedom. But I feel like there's two things here that we need to take note of. One is why are they trying to implement this bill? That is, for me, is the protection of police officers in general, and their fault, because let somebody cuss you out, you're gonna want to have to lay some hands on them. And so maybe these officers don't know how to deal with these situations or how to deal with irate people. And that goes to my second point of not really understanding cultural differences. There's a lack of cultural sensitivity that these officers are lacking, and that goes and speaks volume to Kentucky as well. Kentucky had slaves at one time. We can go back to the effects of slavery, historical lesson 101. And so this stems back from this idea of racism, slavery, and really not understanding people at the end of the day. And I would love to get y'all, your ideas and what you guys think.
Jasmine, she wanted to start.
Can we cuss on this show?
Yes.
Fuck Kentucky. First of all, state. Also fuck Kentucky, because this is just an excuse so that Black people can get killed like George Floyd, and then police get immunity. So fuck them. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, 100%.
Isn't Kentucky where Breonna Taylor was killed?
Yes.
See?
Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah.
Definitely. I think this is another way for them to readjust the prison pipeline, in terms of another way that you can get an infraction, another way that you can find yourself handcuffed, another way you could potentially be killed. Obviously, they're not saying this is directed just at Black people, but I mean, we know what it is, because we're the one cursing at you because you're not doing your jobs right. Nobody told you to be a police officer. Just do your job.
Yeah.
To be honest, no, I was just gonna say, to be honest, like, I feel like, okay, you're putting a law in place for it, but they're doing it anyways. Mm-hmm. So we've seen on the media that people are getting locked up for taunting police. People are getting locked up for, saying, hey, F the police. They're getting locked up for that anyway. So yes, you're making a law that's legal, but the police have been locking people up for petty things. It's not even a crime. It's an opinion. We've seen the routine traffic stops where it's like a lot of times, oh, you're getting stopped because you have a nice car. Like, the list goes on and on. When you're a person of color, you can get a ticket just from jaywalking across the street. So you can say, okay, there's a law for it now, but the reality of it is police have been abusing their power for very long, and I think that they're going to continue to abuse their power. I think this law is more so to try to tame, if anything, the people, because protests are still going on due to deaths like Breonna Taylor. So I think this law is more so for the people to try to scare them versus the police, because the police have been abusing their power and been locking people up and arresting people for things that aren't crime since as long as I've been alive.
Right. And then, I mean, Ben Crump has been saying this on his spiel for the last couple of days since George Floyd's, or it's not George Floyd's lawsuit, or what is it called, Christian? His hearing. It's Darren Chauvin's hearing, but it's the nuances of everything. It's the way I speak. You can say you don't like my tone of voice, and now I'm a criminal because you don't like my tone of voice, and it's very unfair. And it's the systematic injustice. It's unconscious bias, and it's just wrong.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So how do we determine what is insulting to a police officer? Where right? And I think if that's the case, then they should automatically have to have their police cams on. Their body cams have to be on at all times. At no point in time should you turn it off. And before
but then who is
with that person, your body cam should be on. So,
but then who is to say when I'm a judge or I'm a jury? Who's to say that I don't think you're aggressive and I don't think you're wrong and I don't think you talked out of place? The way I'm talking right now, people will get offended. Right. So it's just a very slippery slope, and I don't like it.
Yeah, people would label it as angry or violent. They use this term violence so freely nowadays, when it's just someone speaking from their passion and from their own cultural experience. So we have to realize that I was teaching about today in my history class about overt racism and covert racism. This is a covert racist specific legality, and it's embedded within our criminal justice system. Someone said it earlier about and really filling up mass incarceration. There's another way, another tool to really condemn, to violate Black people's rights. And I get what you're saying, that they've already been doing it, but here's another legal one. Here's another law for you. So just in case.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
Another way.
Right.
Yeah, another way to to keep the little people down, basically.
Exactly.
But we're going to go into something a little bit lighter because we've been talking about where the money resides. So I always have to bring back and talk where the money resides. Looks like they're going to give me my stimmy. Okay, I am super excited. As if, the internet is going crazy. There's also a little bit of confusion, and I want to throw that to you guys too. Some people are saying it's not the whole 2,000, it's only 1,400. But then people who do math, such as myself, say, okay, we got the 600. Then the 1,400 is the rest to get to the 2,000. And then people are saying, well, it's Joe Biden's turn now, so Joe Biden needs to give us the whole 2,000. Nonetheless, it finally got passed. We are getting our $1,400 stimulus checks in the mail, hopefully very soon. Please make sure you filed your taxes and you got all your paperwork in order and check your accounts. Another thing that happened with this particular bill was the overall stimulus for the country and the COVID relief bill that also looked like it's going to pass completely with this stimulus check. What is uncertain, however, is the $15 minimum wage mandate. It seems as though the Republicans are really fighting that, including a couple of Democrats. We spoke about it on our last show, how we feel as though $15 per hour is not a lot. However, there are small businesses that may affect heavily depending on where they are. And then you do have to also take into account inflation and the cost of living. Per, example, us in Los Angeles, $15 an hour is not that much, but it may be to somebody in Kentucky. So don't cuss at the police until you get your $15 hour pay. Yes, I don't know. That's why they mad.
Yeah. And then on that inflation point, in the finance world today, they were having discussions about bonds. And I don't know where it landed. I can do some more research and drop it into the Facebook. But there was a conversation about bonds today that will affect inflation and how much people's bonds are worth. So I think that's also something people need to look at, because we're getting these stimulus checks. We're investing in crypto. We're investing in the stock market. But what is our money actually doing right now? I think it's important to watch your money in all instances.
Also, with this particular coronavirus bill, it looks like the richer are going to be taxed more increasingly, which is kind of surprising because there's your boy Lawrence. How do you feel about some Democrats voting against the 15? I'll get to that too, definitely. But in regards to taxes, we know this is like always a hot button topic, and this is what pretty much divides the Republicans from the Democrats, is the tax on the wealthy, or the tax on the bootstrapped, a middleman American. So coincidentally, these taxes are going to be enforced. And I'm here for it. I think the rich should, pay their dues. But of course, you got your 50 cents and all these other people in the world that are upset about being taxed more per their wealth. And also, some of those little shady business practices that people were doing in order to get tax cuts based upon how much they're paying CEOs if they're making over $1 million and so on. So what do you guys think about all of these?
Yeah, taxes is a very touchy subject for me because, listen, if you know the right way to file taxes and you know what to claim, then what you actually pay at the end of the year is going to be less than the average person. And so there has been some debates on, even with the stimulus, right? Some people are saying don't file your taxes because you may not get your stimulus. But my CPA said the only way you are going to get certain stimulus packages is if you do file your taxes. So there's definitely lack of education when it comes to different things that you're claiming. And I'm trying to learn because I'm like, listen, when tax season comes around, I dread it. I know people are like, oh my God, I get my refund. And I'm like, how much I'm going to have to owe back, But even as a business owner, I'm trying to figure out different tax breaks because they're out there. And so I don't necessarily think that it's quote unquote shady. I just think that there are certain laws that people of color really don't know and don't really talk about and don't really discuss, that people of other races are talking about because they are making the big dollars. They are figuring out whether it is investing into nonprofits and they're using that. There's so many different tax breaks that we don't know about that I'm learning myself. So I think this year, if I can't say nothing else about taxes, is especially if you're a business owner or you're a 1099, make sure you are claiming as much as you can so that you can get the tax breaks, because taxes at the end of the day are literally eating people up. Some business owners up at the end of the year or beginning of the year, I would say.
And for clarification, when I say shady, I don't mean they're doing anything that's illegal. I mean they're doing things that are in the dark because the rest of the world doesn't know. And you're absolutely correct. They're not sharing this information with other people, and we're not getting this information. We're not
supposed to. No.
Exactly. And we do have to go the extra length, but luckily, we have social media, we have shows such as ours, and different networking platforms that is bringing this knowledge to us, and I'm thankful for that.
I cannot with you.
You too, honey. I love it.
A horse and some chickens. That's what my birthday.
Yes, but again, I want to, also make mention this is Women's History Month, so I'm going to throw it to you, Jasmine, because you just wanted to have a couple of little highlight moments that you wanted to discuss for our guests.
Right. So it is Women's History Month. On Monday, March 8th, it was International Women's Day. And that is just a day to celebrate the economic, the social, the cultural, and political movements and advancements of women. So I want to shout out Meghan Markle, who voiced her plight being the Duchess of Sussex, and the racism and the hurt and the mental health issues she was going through. I think it was very brave of her to speak with Oprah. During this time, I want to shout out Stacey Abrams, who had a beautiful cover of Marie Claire this week or month, celebrating her, because we owe a lot of our rights, the suffrage movement, for both men, women, the LGBTQ community, that she fights every day for us to be able to vote and have our voices heard. I want to shout out my lovely co-host, Sharik and Jerica, because this show will be nothing without you. So yeah, celebrating women, and we have a lovely guest. I'm going to pull up her bio so I can read it. We have Kareema Abdul Khabir. I hope I'm saying that right. And she is a trained teacher and community organizer located in the Inland Empire of Southern California. She comes from the same place as Nina Turner. And we love Nina Turner. Yes, and she's running for Congress in Ohio. And it's the island of the misfit Black woman. And we love that because if you ain't going to make noise, then you ain't going to make nothing happen, honey. So let's welcome Kareema.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me here.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great, actually, right here in sunny Southern California.
Okay, great. So can you tell us a little bit about you? And Christian and I will jump in and interview and ask you all the questions to celebrate your achievements.
Yeah, basically, of course, basically 2016, I was teaching, and we know the great calamity happened with the election of our former president. And then I felt I needed to get more involved. I needed to do something about it. I went to protest. Then I felt I needed to build in my own community structures that can resist this type of policies. So I started a variety of marches and protests, anything from March for Our Lives to protest gun violence, various marches to protest the different orders that were coming down on immigration, the different orders that were coming down to increase presidential powers. And we began to go out into the community. We talked with lots of residents. We knocked a lot of doors. We got a lot of people involved and brought them in. A lot of people who felt powerless. They didn't know what to do. They were scared. They were anxious. They had no outlet. We brought them in and we started to make change. And from there, I went and built. I got involved in politics. I ran for my local city council seat. Was short with just a couple hundred votes, but and also I became a national delegate for Bernie Sanders as well.
Awesome.
Aren't you a delegate as well?
Yeah, I'm a delegate too. Thank you so much. We are.
Yes.
This is exciting. This is exciting. So give me about 5 seconds. I want to introduce our other guests so that we can dive more into this conversation about politics, because I really want to pick your brain on a few things. We're going to introduce Heather Johnson. She is a counselor for the first year experience program at San Bernardino Valley College. Go FYE. I used to work in a program at UCLA. She's involved in the community, participating in the Inland Valley Women's Progressive Democratic Club, and is pursuing her doctorate in leadership and educational justice. So let's welcome Heather Johnson to the, there we go. Come on, Heather.
Hi, hey everyone.
Hey.
Welcome so much to our program. Yup. We honor you and give reverence to you and the work that you're doing, both you and Kareema. If you don't mind, share with the public and those that are viewing with us about just a little bit of your story before we go in and interview.
Yeah, so how I got interested in politics was, I'm not going to lie, the pandemonium happened. I call it the pandemonium. And what happened was I saw that my students were not, my students in college were not showing up. I work at a community college. I said, what's going on in our K through 12 system? And so I decided to run for public office. Before that, I was also a 2020 Bernie delegate. So, hey, hello, y'all. So I did that. And unfortunately, I did lose the school board election, but I only lost by 100 votes. And it opened up new opportunities for me. I'm more involved with the community, like you talked about, the Inland Valley Women's Progressive Democratic Club. I'm one of the founding members of it. Our whole goal is to help women, particularly women of color from underserved and marginalized communities, be able to run for office, right? Because like Kareema can probably attest to, it is a journey. It is a journey. It's a race that I've never imagined. It's hard work. And so if they have that support there, then we can help them out. And then I'm working on my doctorate. I'm all about equity and educational justice. My doctorate is looking at the experiences of Black fat femmes in higher education, like how do they navigate it? What are some of the obstacles that they go through? And so I'm really hyped for that. So yeah.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, I got some questions. So
I know you do.
First and foremost, Kareema, I don't know if you heard me, but I'm from the Inland Empire too. My family's out there in San Bernardino. I was born out there, so I have a lot of ties in the San Bernardino area, Inland Empire. And so, as a Democrat, I'm a Democratic delegate for California. I'm also a vice president of our Dem Club in the High Desert. So, speaking to you all, as you guys were running into politics and as a Dem, as Democrats, for that area, did you guys have any institutional support before you guys started running? Were you able to gain any momentum from the mayor, the city council, or was it more of a grassroots approach that you guys took with your campaigns?
I'll let Kareema go first. Do you want to go first, Kareema?
Okay, yeah, and I'm in kind of a redder area, so we don't really have a lot of that support. It's totally grassroots. Build your own campaign, build your own volunteers, build your own power. But yeah, it's that work that we had been doing, getting people out to resist Trump. Then we brought them back in to start making changes in the community. So some of the same people who were out there marching with me came and marched with me to the polls on my campaign.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, for me, it was also very grassroots in terms of my campaign. I remember we were asking one of my older students, like, hey, y'all want to do a video talking about Support Heather for school board? And they did it. And once we got the grassroots support, once we got endorsements from people that people thought we weren't going to get endorsements from because we were first-time candidates, then people said, oh, I would love to help out. How can I help out? So those endorsements played a really big deal. I'm in a bluer area than Kareema is in, but still those endorsements, especially from the Democratic Party, from Labor, all of those endorsements really played a key in then people wanting to support. So that played a key role.
Awesome. Jazz?
Yeah, so I think I have a question for all three of you and Christian as well. You all have all ran for office, and I think I want to know kind of what was that aha moment for you that says, like, I need to step up and represent my people? And then what is that process like? Because like you said, Heather, you're trying to champion more Black women to be and run for office. But what is that look like? What roles are there? Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and speak upon that. So there's many roles. Like the aha moment for me is when I was realizing that my students were disappearing left and right, and they're college students. And I said, what's going on in K through 12? I talked to some people and they were saying that students weren't showing up to class because they don't have proper internet, right? And like we've seen those news stories where students are like over there at like a Del Taco parking lot trying to get Wi-Fi to do their homework. And that was kind of the breaking straw for me because our students should have like environments where they can do their work that is safe. And so there's many ways you can get on. Like my campaign manager, y'all, she was a 2020 Bernie delegate as well. We never met in person until after our campaign.
Oh, wow.
And so there's such things as that. A social media person. So Chris, I see him in the chat. Christopher McLean, he was our social media person. He was fantastic. It was a lot of volunteer work. So I literally had like an army of high school students. Shout out to Jolene. She was our volunteer coordinator for the high school students. She literally like rounded up like 15 high school students to do phone banking, right? And so it was really grassroots. There's so many things that you can do. We had people that helped me out with the endorsements because I was like, an endorsement? What do I need an endorsement for? I just want to help the kids, right? And like my friend Ernie would literally help without that. Literally, y'all, it was my friends who helped me. Those are the positions, and they did it for free. So like, bless them. So.
And then Kareema, a little bit about you. You said more so you were knocking door to door. So what did that look like?
For the pandemic, we actually were just leaving literature. It was contactless canvassing, but we saw people coming and going. So we did have a little bit of interaction. And the key moment that sparked my desire to run was looking at the list of candidates, seeing who was going to represent the people. We're 70% Democrat in my city, but yet we wound up with people who didn't want to do a proclamation for Martin Luther King's Day, city council people who believe that mail-in ballots are fraudulent, and so on and so forth. So just seeing the lack of representation on the city council and how people were being blocked out of it, the majority of the people were being blocked out of it, that made me feel the need to step up and run.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. If I can chime in just a little bit, I want to say I echo both of your sentiments, especially you, Kareema, because I live in a red city area, Lancaster, Palmdale. So if you guys are familiar with this, Antelope Valley, it's, you know, we're battling the same issues. And so that was something that I wanted to deal with and look at radical change. I saw the people that are out here in positions of power don't look nothing like us. I mean, you got us, you got wrinkles here and there, but there was nobody on the school board. I ran for city council and I ran for school board. Came in second in both of them. I was close. I was so close. But, you know, it afforded me, like you said, a lot of different opportunities. You know, I'm working now on the National United States Truth and Racial Healing Transformation Commission. Had a meeting with the White House today, right? So it's like we are able to step out and really, really be the change that you want to see, but it also opens all these other doors. And so I really want to ask you guys and pick your brain real quick on your philosophy in regards to cops being in schools. What is your you know, this is more of a radical, more leftist. Should cops be in schools? Yes or no? You can plead the fifth, however you want to go with it.
No, they shouldn't. I'm sorry, I don't mean to just say it out for they really shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because it's a part of like the prison industrial complex, right? Back in the day, I don't know if y'all know, there was a study that they would count how many prisons they would need based on how many Black men were in third grade at that time.
Wow.
You feel me? And so it enforces the prison industrial complex, the school to prison pipeline. I'm not here for it. What our students need are mental health resources. I'll say that again and I'll say it again. They need mental health resources. They need resources, especially now during the pandemonium. Our students have been inside for a year. What does that look like? Right? And so, yeah, I'm totally against having cops on campus. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's very violent in nature. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you. Kareema?
Definitely, I would agree with Heather. We want to support our students and nurture them and bring them in. And we also want to train them to be citizens who can be involved in building their community and empowered, not having a top-down outside force telling them what to do. So definitely, I think we need to bring in more social workers, psychologists, mental health workers. I saw a big need when I was teaching high school for that. And yeah, I hope we can make a lot of progress on that, getting that care in the schools.
Definitely. I think you guys right on target. Y'all are on target in regards to, you know, really changing the philosophy of care and what does it really look like in schools. I literally went to a superintendent today and we gave him a proposal to remove the cops from our high schools. So we're doing cancel the contract AV, working with Reform LA jails and really, really putting some work to it, right? And so I want to say you guys are right on target, and I appreciate the words that you're saying because now I could take some of that too and run with the win as well. But I'm going to give it over to Jasmine because she has one last question. Sorry.
I don't have one last question. I just have a statement, and then I'll shoot it over to the rest of the crew so that they can interview the next guest. However, many of you know we've talked about this. I went to private school, and 2 years I went to public school, and we had a security guard. But I tell you, the security guards are very intimidating. So for me to think of having a police officer in the school watching me, hounding me, telling me I'm doing wrong, you know, making me feel like I got somebody on my back, it just doesn't make me feel comfortable growing up. And I think that's a big problem with society. And we talked about the Kentucky bill. We talked about how just our state of America right now is very kind of hounding Black people. And I just don't feel like it should start at third grade. And that's just very upsetting for me. because they're children at the end of the day. They're not criminals. And when you make someone feel like they're a criminal at 8 years old, they might be more likely to be a criminal because at the end of the day, they're raised to think that they're a criminal. Unfortunately, and they're not having the support at home sometimes. It's just a hot mess. So I will shoot it over to
Jasmine. Hold on, Jasmine, real quick. Guess I want you guys just to drop who has been your inspiration, because we're celebrating Women's History Month. Can you drop off like who's been your history, your I guess your woman's idol, or somebody that people can look up to, as well as you guys have pay homage to somebody?
Marsha P Johnson. She was the first trans woman of color to throw a brick during the Stonewall riots. She started the riots. I feel in order for all of us to be liberated, like all of us have to be liberated, not just some of us. So that includes our trans women of color. So I give it up to Marsha P Johnson.
Awesome.
An excellent pick. I would say Shirley Chisholm, still being unbought and unbossed after all these years, wherever she is. And also, as I said, Nina Turner. Got to add her in there too.
Love Nina Turner. And then I want to add, I'm a big fan of Ella Baker. I'm very respectful. I don't have much to say about it. I just wanted to say that.
Awesome. Well, thank you too for being our guest today. We're going to go over to our other segment, and we will catch up with you at the end to have final words. Okay. Thank you so much, ladies. All right. So we're going to bring Sharik and Gigi back on.
There you guys.
Oh.
That was really good, Christian. I know you your whole everything, your whole energy. That was good. We were sitting back like me.
I loved it.
Really good conversation. I'm watching like we're not a part of the show.
Right. I'm sipping tea. I'm commenting. I'm like, oh.
But thank you guys so much for throwing it over to us. I'm going to go ahead and throw it now to you, Miss Gigi, as you introduce our next guest.
Yes. So education is something near and dear to my heart. So it is a privilege and it is an honor to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Jessica Camacho. If I said that wrong, Jessica, please let me know the correct spelling and, the correct pronunciation of your last name. But she has been in education for over 15 years. She's the teacher of teachers, a dissertation coach, and a speaker, but I'm sure that me introducing her bio probably doesn't even give her any justice. And so I just want to welcome you, Jessica. We are so happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm excited.
And then I'm going to go ahead and introduce our other special guest that we're going to have a nice little conversation with. Coincidentally, as you're an educator, I like to think of her as an educator because she's an artist. And I think of MCs and people who really touch with the community, are educating people, and they're being the voice for the people. But she goes by Cheyenne G. She is an MC, poet, producer from Berkeley, California, East Bay. As a child growing up during the hyphy movement, she's always made it her passion to connect her love for her home sound that's influenced by soul, R&B, jazz, funk, alternative, hip hop. Her ears are alarmed her every time she heard artists such as Sade, MF Doom, yes, Jay Dilla, Ninth Wonder, Lupe Fiasco, Stevie Wonder, Aaliyah, and Tupac, as she likes to mention, because she's my little sister. She stole my Tupac CD back in the day. So please welcome Cheyenne G. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Hi. So wait, so I saw the reaction from Jessica. You look.
Oh, I went to Cal, and Berkeley's like my favorite place on the planet. So anyone that's from there went to Cal, I automatically love you.
We love the Bay.
I'm excited. I'm like,
Well, Gigi, I'll let you go ahead and ask the first question.
Yes, I was just about to point out this comment. I said, I feel like, the Bay Area energy is just exuding from the screen, I'm a Texas native, even though I live in LA now. But so Jessica, yes. I like to give people flowers while they're here. I think being a teacher and educator is one of the most challenging, but can be most rewarding jobs, that's out there. So I guess my first question to you is, What has it been like teaching during this pandemic and this time?
So just for context, I have been out of the K through 12 classroom for about 6 to 7 years, maybe. And I only taught privately, like tutor. And then later on, I got my contract with the U.S. Department of State in the region of North Africa. And I've been teaching virtually teacher of teachers there. So for me, it's been a very different experience because I'm teaching adults. And I'm teaching adults in other countries, and without having been to either Morocco or Libya. So it's been a huge learning curve of both teaching teachers, teaching fully online, and teaching in another country and trying to figure out, oh, it's a Moroccan holiday, so they probably don't want to come to class today. I should have noted that on my calendar or something like that. So it's been a very interesting experience, a very different experience. I have a lot of friends that are teaching and administrators, like assistant principals, in the K through 12 spectrum. And I know it's been as challenging as it was for me, it's a lot more challenging for them. And I will give them all the credit that they deserve, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautiful. But being a teacher in general is, especially with adults sometimes, because I feel like with kids, sometimes you can kind of, they're a little bit more willing, but adults will be like, no, it's a holiday today. I am not coming to class. You didn't know. So I do think sometimes teaching adults can be a little bit more, challenging at times. I want to ask you, what's the most rewarding thing about being an educator? And then what's maybe one of the biggest challenges that you have?
So I started in kindergarten, and I am much more of a little kid, little teacher type of person. Hands down, and I love kindergarten. That's where I started. And probably this kind of goes with the challenge. The challenge of teaching is that you don't always get to see the fruits of your labor.
Yes.
You don't understand your impact in the moment. You don't even understand your impact in the year that it happens. You're so exhausted so many days that you don't even have the energy to kind of absorb maybe something wonderful that happened. And I think that naturally, and the way society often treats you, they're very negative. So you focus in on all the things that you weren't able to achieve. Last year, I'm going to age myself, my very first group of children, my very first group of babies graduated from high school. And I haven't heard from a lot of them since they were maybe in first or second grade, because I did stay at the school for a while. They found me on Facebook and sent me graduation photos and told me, do you remember me? Of course I remember you. You're my first group of students. Yes. And you're so old now and tall, and you have a girlfriend and a boyfriend, and you drive, and now you're wearing a graduation hat. And, the love that poured out from them, I remember you. You were my kindergarten teacher. I loved you. Do you remember this, this, and this? Of course I do. So I had to wait 13 years for that. Kind of a challenge, but.
Yeah. I love that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Okay. I love that you said that. And one thing that I want to point out, you said the fruits of your labor. And I think that that's something that everybody can relate to, especially you, Shy, being an artist, is having to work and then maybe not seeing the fruits of your labor till later on down the line. But I want to throw it to you, Shariq, because I would love to hear more about, you, Shy.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, listening to her story, and then knowing, Shy's journey personally, obviously, because she's my sister, I know the impact that teachers had on her and her music career. So Shy, I wanted to ask you about that. Can you just kind of touch on, teachers that have been in your life? And like I said, I know that you had a teacher that introduced you to the recording industry, so to speak, when you made one of your first songs. So can you reflect on that a little bit?
Yeah, I would say I got pretty serious about music, about, even just wanting to give it a shot when I was about 13 years old. I remember the first song I ever recorded was on a Mac desktop, and I used GarageBand. And I had a science teacher who just encouraged me to do it for our talent show. So when I got to be around the age of 15, I decided to take a after school extracurricular class where I had a teacher. Shout out to AC. She gave me a lot of constructive feedback on how to enunciate and how to own my voice and to not be afraid and to really believe in the story that I'm trying to tell, because even though I didn't realize it at the time, I was talking about things that I was going through that was helping me to develop my character and my own spirit and the surroundings that I grew up learning how to overcome and learning how to illustrate in my music. So I realized that that is something that I truly love to do, and I wanted to be able to craft this into a never-ending story and a never-ending gift of being able to appreciate what is around me, to be able to illustrate my hard lessons and my beautiful, journeys through crossing paths with other amazing figures. And I even was inspired to experience the teaching role myself as an educator. I taught at Girls Incorporated for a little while, and I also taught music at YR Media, formerly known as Youth Radio. I taught music production. I taught poetry writing and performance arts. So I also have that under my belt. So I take every experience possible to help pass on that knowledge that I have received from my teachers and my mentors, and to also pass that down to, my peers and, people who are growing up after me, because, I still learn from them as well. I learn from the people coming after me as well to know, how we can help to update and upgrade the next steps towards, being able to address social issues for better change in our society.
That's awesome. So speaking of social issues, we want all of you wonderful, beautiful, intelligent, remarkable women to our platform because we wanted to discuss women empowerment. And we thought it'd be good to have the two of you in this interview because we're speaking education, we're speaking art. And to me, like I said earlier, art and education go hand in hand. So I wanted to ask you first, Shai, and then I'll throw it to you as well, Jessica. What can you say or what can you speak to in regards to your plight or the struggle of a female in your given career? Specifically, Shai, we know Cardi B just got announced that her single Bodak Yellow just went diamond for the first time any female MC has ever done that. So we're still breaking barriers at this moment, and it's kind of crazy to think it's 2021 and there's still glass ceilings that haven't been broken yet. So Shai, I just wanted you to reflect on your career as a female in hip hop.
Well, I would say for someone to achieve down that path as an artist and as a woman, there are more barriers that we are going to have to break, and it can take a little bit more time, unfortunately. But when that does happen, it definitely it sets the bar for the next generation of artists to break even higher barriers and set the bar even higher. And I think that without a woman's voice in any career field, it would be difficult to be able to cover all aspects of social issues. So as I look back on my career, I'm just getting started, but I do aim to be able to make an impact, on the access to resources and opportunities for the next people coming after me can achieve.
Definitely. Jessica, same question for you regarding your career and you as a woman.
So this is hard. Part of the reason, okay, I have many thoughts right now.
Okay. Take your time.
Take your time.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start off by, I am not a mom. I'm going to just full disclosure. I am not someone's mother. But I know that societally will talk about how amazing a woman's work, a mom's work is. And we will applaud it and say it is the hardest job in the world. And at the same time, we don't value it. It is unpaid labor at home in its domain, in its initial domain, and anyone that we parcel it out to or delegate it to, so nannies, housekeepers, things like that, are highly, highly underpaid and undervalued, and they're considered unskilled laborers. Women's work, women's domains, any profession associated with women is undervalued and underpaid. So as an educator in education, K through 12, something like 85% K through 12 are female. And as a whole, we know that teachers are underpaid. We know that they have taken a huge burden, a huge weight, especially in 2020 during COVID, having to balance all the things that are at home as well as their education job in general. And I think one of the things as an educator that I have grappled with as a woman in particular is being simultaneously told that as a kindergarten teacher, I was doing God's work and certainly not treated like God. You know, I am told that my work is the most important thing. There's everything you learn in kindergarten. You know, teachers are working long hours. Last year when the pandemic hit, teachers are heroes. They deserve $1 million. You know, I can't believe how hard they work, how much they do, how much they put up with. And, you know, 1 year later, we're back to square one. You don't deserve that raise. You need to go back into the classroom. This is your job. You know, I don't care about your safety or your concerns, you know, or this is my favorite, you don't care about the kids. And it's like, don't use children as a pawn. And that happens to women as well, because what happens if you go to work, you are giving guilt societally or self-guilt for leaving your children in the care of someone else, right? But then if you stay with your children, you're also giving guilt and societal guilt for not having paid work or having an identity of your own or just being a mom. So it's like this constant battle as a woman, and especially in a female-dominated profession, where it's a constant damned if you do and damned if you don't. A constant, like, you're doing great work, but we're actually not going to compensate you for it because it's not actually that important or that skilled. I hope that made sense, but I have, you know, I got a little warm saying that.
Yeah, you can tell you're very passionate about that. And
yes. And you're absolutely right. I think that moms don't get as much credit. And I think that women in general don't get a lot of credit sometimes for the hard work that we put in. We don't really get the same recognition sometimes in the workplace as our male counterparts, unfortunately. So we are wrapping up, but just a couple of more questions that I wanted to ask. One is, what would you guys say is your biggest professional accomplishment? And the reason why I want to highlight that is because I don't feel like sometimes we give flowers enough. So I would love to hear from you ladies. What is your biggest professional accomplishment? We can start off with you, Shy.
Okay, thank you. I would say one of the biggest accomplishments that I've gotten, which also was recent, was that my recent project, Let Me Go, was featured on KQED's Top 10 Bay Area Albums of 2020.
Wow.
And
yes, that's
awesome. Because, you know, it is difficult to, you know, make it on any type of, you know, chart in a male-dominated industry, and especially in hip-hop culture. And I didn't see that coming. You know, that was towards the end of, you know, me wrapping up my campaign. So that's my greatest one so far.
Congratulations. What about you, Jessica?
I've taught over 100 people how to read. I mean, as a kindergarten teacher, that's something that I feel very passionate about, you know, giving that lifelong gift and seeing it kind of unfold over time is just nothing better. You take that with you for the rest of your life.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I think both of you are super remarkable, and you are obviously really passionate about your career and what it is that you do. And we commend you guys. And I appreciate Gigi wanting to give them their flowers now. I think we should do more of that, especially as, you know, women in these industries. We need to give everyone their flowers while they're still here. So with that being said, I'm going to bring back Jasmine and Heather, and I'm going to bring back Miss Kareema. and we're going to close it out. Heather, are you there? Christian had, I believe he had something that he had to go tend to, but it's a ladies' party at the end of the day, and we're celebrating Women's History Month. So before we close out, ladies, I definitely just want to go around and you guys let everybody know what you have coming up and where they can find you. So we'll start with Jessica, who's on this side of me, and then we'll go down to Kareema, then Heather.
So I run a book forum for diverse spines and own stories. So you can find me at Canon Reclaimed on Facebook and on Instagram. And every Friday right now, we're doing a book discussion on Mediocre, The Dangerous Legacy of White Male America by Ijeoma Oluwa. So that's the best place to find me. And also, too, I'm just going to do a little plug for the Inland Valley Women's Progressive this is such a long name. Inland Valley Women's Progressive Democratic Club. Please join us on March 24th for our next meeting and the election of officers. Shout out to Heather, who's running.
Awesome.
Yay.
And you, Shy?
So I actually want to highlight a organization that I'm a part of. So I'm a part of People's Programs located in Oakland, California. So every Sunday we give out food and supplies and clothing to the houseless community and those in need. So if you could check out People's Programs on Instagram, Twitter, and on the website peoplesprograms.com. We're also taking donations and everything like that. And, we're out there in the field and, taking as much help as possible. And also I will be releasing a new EP next month very soon. So nice. Stay tuned for that. You can find me at shyongmusic.com.
Kareema?
Hi, I am contemplating a new run for office. Still not completely sure about it, but in the meantime, you can check out Derek Marshall for our congressional district at derekmarshallca.com. He's an awesome guy. I've been working a lot with him in the community. He gets it. You can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Kareema Abdul Khabir. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Heather?
All right. Thanks, y'all, for having this forum. You all are great human beings. But also, if you all want to follow me on my dissertation journey where I talk about fat Black femmes, you can find me on Lady HSJ on Instagram. Also, if you want to hear me talk about it, I'm on Clubhouse a lot talking about it. I also want to give a plug to the Inland Valley Women's Progressive Democratic Club. Please come join us. Like Jessica said, it's a great organization. We do great work. And that's it. Thank you all.
That's awesome. I feel like I need to go into Inland Valley and have a meetup or something. It sounds like there's just so many amazing people in the Inland Valley and in the IE. That's so remarkable that all of you are so connected and so in tune with politics and what's going on in your community. So yeah, I just love that. I just had to say that real quick. Ms. Jasmine, what are your final words for tonight?
So I know I get long-winded sometimes, so I'm going to try to be very brief. Miss Jessica, I related to so much that you said. So with that, I want to give a shout out to my elementary kindergarten teacher, Pamela Cofield, and Miss Chen. Miss Chen and I are friends on Facebook. And let me tell you, this lady used to flip her eyelids and try to scare us at nap time. But I'm also friends with Yolanda McLaughlin. That's my second grade teacher. She was always fly, still fly. And then Barbara Wynn. I'm friends with them on Facebook. They're probably watching. Hope they are. They chime in on my stuff. But tomorrow, one of the company's brands I work for is having a clubhouse for entertainment executives, Black, Indigenous, people of color. And the goal of it's called Coffee Exchange. And the goal of our platform is to give and take in a positive way our tools, our resources, our networks for people of color so that we lift each other up as we climb and we are not hoarding our resources so that nepotism in the white community doesn't thrive the way it does. So I invite you all. The link is in my bio on Instagram. Jasmine__Laverne on Instagram. So follow me and check out the link in my bio if you want to join.
Awesome. Miss Gigi.
I just want to say this was such a pleasure to have all you beautiful ladies here. I feel honored. I believe in the power of networking. So please, everyone that is watching, connect with all of them. Make sure that you follow them on Instagram, Clubhouse, whatever they have in events. Please support. That's one thing I wanted to say. The other thing I wanted to say is I don't believe that women, we celebrate our successes. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I got promoted. Oh, I'm a director. Yeah. Oh yeah, I started a new business last week. So I just want to encourage all of you, if you have a business, if you get promoted, celebrate it, and if you know of a friend or a family member that has a business or a product or anything of that nature, celebrate it. I don't believe we celebrate each other enough. I don't believe we uplift each other enough. Sometimes the world doesn't give us enough credit. And I think that women work harder than, I'm sorry, men, I'm sorry. But I do think that women work longer hours and we work harder just to prove that we're supposed to be in our positions, even though that we know we're fully qualified to be there. So if I could leave you with anything, I would just say, support your family and friends the way that some of you support the celebrities that you don't even know.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for that, Gigi. I ditto to you. You said exactly what I was going to say, so I love that. We're all in sync. But since I'm here, I definitely want to say that I want to give a huge shout out to Cheyenne G. Just to get a little bit personal, she is my little sister. She's my baby. I know she doesn't want to think that she is. But just to see her and how she's grown, and people used to call her shy. And when I saw her perform for the first time, I literally was in tears, because being a woman in this industry is hard enough. Being an introvert is hard enough. Being a Black person is hard enough. And speaking your voice and really having your testimony and not being afraid to do so, and using that as your method of therapy, as your method of self-healing and self-security, I think that's remarkable. And so, Shy, I definitely want to give you your flowers. You are amazing, as are all of you women that are on this platform. So I want to encourage all of you to continue shining. I feel so touched and honored to be able to be on this platform and have conversations with you guys. Ladies, I'm sorry. Let's keep doing it. Let's connect. Let's get on Clubhouse. Let's use the heck out of Clubhouse and make some stuff happen. But thank you all for watching, and thank you to our audience who commented. The comments were lit today. Hey, Chris.
Thank you, audience.
As always, please make sure you're following us at Yup Network. This is just one of our series. We're going to be celebrating and highlighting women throughout the entire month and forever, to be completely honest. So we will see you all next time. Thank you again to our wonderful guests. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.